Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today we are diving into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. A lot going on, a lot of information being disseminated. And I think today this live stream will be devoted to the chat. So that's what today is all about. We didn't really get a chance during last few live streams to actually focus in on what you guys were talking about. So that's what we're doing today. Good to see you, Jill. So if you guys have a question, comment, or anything like that, we'll go ahead and we'll address it now directly. Welcome in, TJ, Jerry, Gail, Patty, hello, Molly, Sherry, Ziggy, Miss Mala. Melissa Balboa. Welcome in, everybody. I know this is short notice. I just kind of felt bad leaving the live stream last night without really being able to address any of you guys directly. Plus, I'm curious to what you guys think about everything that's been going on. What's up, Renee? Thank you for that Cash App, by the way. I appreciate you. Miss Smalla, I'm not even sure if I can articulate my question to make sense. Give it a try. We'll figure it out together. There you go. Good to see you, Rescue. Make time for some sun. I took the dogs for a walk this morning. Yeah, with these allergies, man, they're killing me. I just want to scratch my eyeball out of my head. It's so itchy. It's driving me crazy. I don't like to take allergy medicine either. Molly says, I was wondering if we know if TK was ever interviewed by law enforcement or if he lawyered up right away. And I wonder when KK started talking. He did have a private lawyer, I think. I don't think so. I think his lawyer was Maki, who was out of the same firm as Rosie. Yeah, it's good to see you, Renee. Not quite sure when he started talking. The first time I heard about him talking was through somebody that was locked up with him started leaving comments on YouTube channels, kind of talking about it. It was right around the same time he was taken into custody in the beginning of the Wabash River search and all that stuff. Yep, good to see you. TJ, I think the defense has a grudge against the state. And they're willing to let all the skeletons out of the closet on this botched investigation. I hate them, but I respect them. Well, I don't hate anybody, but I get what you're saying. And, you could be right. Some people would call it professional courtesy. We're asking you as a courtesy not to divulge certain pieces of information that we don't even plan to bring up during our trial. But that doesn't seem to stop this defense team. And if I were their client, I would hope that they would be doing everything in their power to defend me. Even if that is riding that thin gray line, you know? Sherry, I just want to know details of Ferenczi's death. Meehan through the device that brought him out. Yeah, that's unrelated 100%. We did a live stream on that. Let me see if I have anything on that. Yeah, 100% unrelated. Has nothing to do with Delphi. So let's take a look at Shane Meehan, and then we'll look at what happened with Greg Ferenczi.
July 3rd, a little late in the election season. One big push from...
Yeah, I mean, these are the kind of conspiracy theories that are going to just take you way off track, you know? First of all, we don't know if the crime scene was a ritualistic murder, right? That's up for debate. Therefore, it's going to be very difficult to prove that Odinists had anything to do with the murders, let alone some conspiracy from this guy Meehan to attack a police station, and then randomly the guy that he's targeting just happens to come out and he's able to kill this person. I mean, you guys got to think about this kind of stuff. It just doesn't make any sense.
Local election headquarters.
The next candidate filed to run as an independent on July 3rd, a little late in the election season. One big push from Shane Meehan is safety and structural updates to Vigo County schools.
Meehan is a father of 3. He says that he's never had a role in politics, and his run for mayor is to show the community that it can be done.
Shane Meehan has lived in Terre Haute his entire life. The 42-year-old retired from the Terre Haute
this guy's a
Federal
politician
Penitentiary and now works at UPS. But he hopes his next career jump will be Terre Haute mayor.
A lot of people that when I was out talking to them, they said, dude, there's no prayer unless you've been part of the political system in order to be able to do anything or make any kind of change. So I'm wanting to show them that it can be done if you're willing to put the time into it.
Meehan is a West Vigo graduate, but showed no bias when choosing a spot for us to talk. We met in front of South Vigo High School. He says schools are one of the most important topics.
So that's the guy, and I'll show you what he actually did. And people were saying that Meehan targeted Ferenczi, which, I mean, that's just crazy. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you buy into that, trust me, you got bigger problems, you know.
Well, what we learned from the charging information filed by the U.S. Attorney in Indianapolis, that's about 60 miles east of here, is that Meehan allegedly came up onto this property. You see it behind me. This is just off of downtown Terre Haute where the FBI has it.
So Meehan was the guy that I just showed you on the other video. So he's basically, this is like a terrorism thing. It has nothing to do with trying to hide the fact that Odinist killed Abby and Libby.
Its offices flung a Molotov cocktail onto the property. The officer then came out, confronted him. The officer was shot once, at least. Then the officer exchanged gunfire with Meehan. That brought out a second FBI agent who also exchanged gunfire with Meehan. Meehan was wounded twice and drove himself to Terre Haute Regional Hospital, where he was found. He's under treatment there, and his truck was seized and was searched for.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. If you're trying to silence this guy, does this seem like the way to go about it? I'm going to go throw a Molotov cocktail, and then that just means random people are going to come out of that building. I mean, just think about it. Don't let people confuse you. And yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, guys. The Saint says, "Are you in Arizona?" Yep, I sure am. Molly says, "I'm trying to avoid confirmation bias with this new KK-TK." Yeah, remember, first and foremost, TK is a liar. Or not TK, but KK is a liar. And I'm sure investigators wanted him to be the guy. And if he's not the guy, they wanted his father to be the guy. They didn't. It doesn't seem like they found anything. But just because you didn't find anything doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? But I'm more interested in why they're so interested, right? Yeah, exactly. And the only facts that exist on that, Molly, is that Keegan Kline is the creator of the Anthony Shots profile. We know that Anthony Shots was communicating with Libby 2 weeks prior to the crime. And we know that Anthony Shots was trying to meet Libby out there the day of the murders. Even responded by saying, "Hey, I was supposed to meet her out there. She didn't show up. OMG," right? And then later on down the road, denied any involvement. And then even further down that road came and confessed to participating in the murders. Not only that, he said that he was with his father at the cemetery, and when he came out of the woods, muddy and bloody, that he said he had a good time. So I don't know what that's all about. Those are the facts. Whether or not he's telling the truth or not, that's to be determined. What's up, Lulu? Lulu the Gumshoe. Welcome in. Sherry Wilson, Trooper Ferenczi was the team investigating Rushville, the Odinist, Vinlander group. He was doing a lot, guys. That's not all he was working on.
Coverage on yesterday's shooting that killed Detective Greg Ferenczi. News 10's Blake Dahlier is live at the Vigo County Courthouse. He's going to explain a little bit more about who Detective Ferenczi was. Blake.
Susan, it's been about 24 hours since that deadly shooting that killed Detective Greg Ferenczi. Now, that happened just across the street from where I'm standing right now, and Tucker White showed you that just a moment ago. Now, I went to the FBI press conference a couple hours ago, and I heard a little bit more about Ferenczi's life and his career. News 10 had often talked to Ferenczi. As you can see, this is some old video of him speaking with us. Ferenczi worked 30 years with the Terre Haute Police Department. He's been a task force officer with the FBI since 2010. He also trained officers on how to handle matters like drugs, violent crime, and human trafficking. Risk assessments were also a significant part of Ferenczi's job. Police
notice that they didn't mention the Delphi murders one time, right? He's involved in a whole lot of stuff, guys.
Tell us Ferenczi was, quote, the guy we'd turn to. His 30 years on the police force was one the community won't soon forget.
You'll not meet a finer person. You don't spend 30 years in this profession without being dedicated. And he was absolutely dedicated.
So we're talking about a serious officer here, a seasoned professional. Ms. Small, I would like to know the exactness of the phone data. It's obviously more than tower pings. Where was Richard Allen's actual phone in the kidnapping murder time frame, for example? Yeah, that's a good question. And the device that he was, he's the one that brought up the phone. The witnesses said he had his head down. Now we know he was most likely looking at his phone. First, it's the stock ticker, and then apparently he's looking at the fish. So was that his phone? But when it comes to the geofencing, you guys got to remember right around the time that he was kind of moving and staging and doing, leaving his signatures, there was a group of people on the bridge. So when you do the geofencing, you're going to pick up that group. I call them Cheyenne and the Subaru crew. So that's why they're not allowing the geofencing in, because they know who it belongs to, and the defense team wants to point their finger at those folks. But they've been cooperating. Remember, we knew all about them. From the very beginning, we knew about these folks. But we didn't know about Richard Allen. And there's a reason for that. He designed it that way. Good evening, Rain Dancer. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff here. Got some stuff on Todd Click, Jeffrey Turco. But yeah, I mean, that's a non-issue, guys. Don't get lost in those weird rabbit holes. Don't let people convince you, that the earth is flat. Or is it? Molly, when was the KK interview leaked? What was a few months prior to the Wabaster? No. Let me see if I can pull up his transcripts. I don't know if there's a date on it. It might even be dated. But yeah, it was leaked way before that. I know Fig, he had it way before the murder sheet. And he shared it with me. So we had it way before they did. And you didn't see us blabbing about it. Let me see if I still have it handy here. Might have a date on it. I don't know. There it is. Yeah, it should have a date right here. Let's see. August 19th, 2020. So it was probably leaked in between, anywhere between 2020 and 2021. Hey, She Warrior, welcome in. Silas, what's up? TJ, if Richard Allen's car is on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera and it was parked a block away from the sheriff's department for 5 years, and Richard Allen basically turned himself in to Dan Doolin, how do you miss this? It's a good question. Well, if you guys have been following the Callenberger case, that's another case, or it's a David Callenberger. It's a case from 2016 where David was trying to kind of escape this life of meth, really. He was surrounded by drug dealers and killers, and he was trying to escape Indiana and get to Florida to his sister, and he was murdered. He was sabotaged, murdered, and his body was dumped. And bomb threat B. Phillips came forward. He's a witness. He said he helped dump the body. The investigation is headed up by Jerry Holman, the same guy who was lead on the Delphi murders. Well, bomb threat B. Phillips came forward and said, these are the players. I saw my friend. He was wrapped up in a tarp, and he had ratchet straps all around him. And I helped load him into a trunk, and they dumped his body. And that's never been made public. B. Phillips came out and admitted to that on a live stream. You don't hear Holman talking about that. You don't hear him doing a presser or making that public. But he has been digging in people's garages and searching for Callenberger. So it's not important until it is. So for all we know, they may have known about Richard Allen. I mean, really, that's the only explanation that doesn't make Dan Doolin look like a POS, right? Or incompetent. Or complicit. So whenever I try to understand what was going on with Dan Doolin, him talking with Richard Allen and letting him slip through their fingers, I always go back to the Callenberger case. Because since 2016, they know exactly who was involved in that crime, and they haven't made that public at all, not even to the family members or anything. Because they have to be able to prove it. And they can't take the word of B. Phillips. He's like got multiple felonies. He says he was one of the biggest drug dealers in Delphi. He's been convicted of calling in the bomb threat. He worked at Indiana Packers. So when it comes to Doolin, I always think about the Callenberger case. Like, they know who did it. They know who killed him. But without the body, they can't really prove any of it. So that's what they're working on right now. They're trying to find him. Like, where did they dump him? And once they do, they'll make the arrest. So it kind of reminds me of Keegan Kline's involvement with the Delphi murders, right? Even though he's confessed, it's kind of hard to take his word for it. What's up, H. Nixon, Jill Moser? KK was interviewed 2017, 2020, and right before the Wabash search. Yeah, I think she was referring to the leaked transcripts. And that would fall into the 2021 that you're talking about right there, smack dab in the middle. Good to see you, Stephanie. Sherry Wilson. Yes, Meehan in the Vinlanders. I don't know if he was in the Vinlanders, but I think he was I think he practiced Asatru. Or you may have been able to consider him into Odinism. I'm not quite sure. But I mean, there's a lot of people in Indiana who practice that. So once again, even if you could prove that it was a ritualistic murder in Delphi, you have to find the right people who were conducting the ritual. Eye doctor said irritated eyes are usually caused by debris in the eyelashes, swipe, close eyes, lashes. Well, I have allergies. Allergies, a symptom of allergies are itchy eyes. Thank you, though. I've had them my entire life. The only real way to treat them is medicine or like a cool pack on your eyes. Something cool. Scott Brown, welcome in. Why is no one talking about Abby Williams' boyfriend asking what would happen if they found his spit? Well, Abby Williams' boyfriend didn't say that. That was Elvis Fields. And he's apparently he's low IQ, maybe mentally handicapped. And if he did spit on the girls, don't you think they would have his DNA? So you're getting everything like what's the word? I think convoluted might be the right word. Oh, and then you're talking about posting a picture he drew with the body hanging in the same position. Well, it's actually a famous painting. You know, that's the way Odin is always depicted. I can pull that up for you if you want. I did like a 3-part live stream, three live streams on this. And it seems interesting only for a few reasons. It only became interesting after the defense team leaked that Frank's memo talking about a rope and how the girls might have been hung and they can't find all the blood, you know, but it's all bullshit. Everything that we were able to prove in that Frank's memo was a complete fabrication. And I'm not even joking about that. So something that's very important here is he has this F, right? Or I think it's what, call it an Anzus? Maybe I might have that wrong. It's a rune. Well, anybody that's already biased and can't get past their own ego or the fact that, hey, you know, I knew that this was a ritual. And now there's a F on the tree. That's just like a blot ritual. And look at Brad Holder, and he has this F, just like the crime scene. Well, if you've been paying attention, they now pretty much have proven that it's not an F. Some even refer to it as an upside down L. But it simply is a palm print. So therefore, you don't have a ritual. So this picture doesn't mean shit. Means absolutely nothing. Unless you buy into that, right? It's not a palm print. It's an F on the tree. And look, Brad Holder, he put a bloody F right here. And if you go searching for something, you're going to find it. It's that simple. And that's what it was with the defense and the Odinism stuff. Richard Allen said, hey, these guards are threatening me. What guards? The guards with the Odin patches. Okay, so let's go look through all of this. How many terabytes of discovery? Ignore the majority of it. And then the 5% that relates to Odinism, we're going to focus in on that. And we're going to build everything around that. And we're going to develop our third-party suspects, even though it's only a small portion of the story, right? It's like ripping a page out of a large book and then claiming that you read the book or that you have full understanding of what happened. It's ridiculous, honestly. But it's the defense's job to point away from their client. And I think now that they're starting to talk about Keegan Kline, they're starting to point towards him a little bit. So they need to be careful. I have 2 sources who swear to me that Richard Allen, Kathy Allen, and Tony Kline know each other. Not as of recently, but when they were younger, they all used to hang out together. And if you guys go watch my video titled The Catalyst, you'll see that puts Richard Allen in Peru at the time. Go watch that video. I don't know. Maybe we'll play it. We'll see. What's up, Anna? Like who, Molly? Cops die all the time. I'm telling you, like, it's a risky job. Even though I'm not pro law enforcement, I respect the hell out of them. Because just like anything, I say it's 1 out of 10. TJ, can we just get an adult in the room and get this guy his trial for the victim and the taxpayers. Good Lord. Well, the truth is, Richard Allen, they are representing him. And right now, he doesn't want to talk. So they're going to continue to represent him to the best of their ability. And you have to respect them for that. You can't say that they're bad people for doing their job. It's like being dropped on a deserted island and you're only allowed 3 items, to survive. They don't have much to work with. They got a battery, a piece of string, and an old leather shoe. And maybe a plastic bag or something. Cheeks, what's up? You silence some by going to their house in the middle of the night, not go to a parking lot and hope they come outside. Exactly. Yeah, thanks for putting me back on track. I didn't finish that thought. You don't go about it that way. If you're trying to get this guy, you simply assassinate him. He comes home, or he comes out of his home in the morning, and you just end his life. Right? If you're part of some huge conspiracy, you don't roll up to a police station with a Molotov cocktail and engage in a gun battle that you know you're going to lose. That's basically, he ended his life by cop, is what he did. Anna says, according to Sister Kelsey, the girls first asked to go to the mall. I wonder if KK had tried to arrange a meeting at the mall. Bridge trails were a second choice for the girls. Yeah, and that does, Kelsey doesn't have all the answers. Becky doesn't have all the answers. They know what the girls wanted them to know. These girls, there could have been something completely different going on. They could have been planning to go to that trail that day at that time for a whole week. It doesn't mean that Kelsey knows. It doesn't mean that Mike Patty knows. And it doesn't mean that Becky knows. The only people that had to know would be Abby, Libby, and Anthony Schatz, who, according to the transcripts, completely fooled Libby into thinking that it was a real person. Yeah, TJ, a lot of books coming out. I do see a movie being made in the future about this for sure. We've already had some popular documentaries. I mean, Down the Hill was a really good documentary. I still watch that every once in a while. I still catch new pieces of information all the time. So I always suggest people watch that one because it sticks to the facts for the most part. And it tells the story of the girls. It's not distracting. Hey, Sherry, you're welcome to your own opinions. He was looking into that and a whole lot of other stuff. But when he died, they didn't mention the Delphi murders one time. The only reason you keep mentioning is because it fits into your narrative. You buy into it. I'm not saying that's bad or, you shouldn't do that. I'm just explaining to you what's happening and why you're doing it. It's not like he woke up every morning. He's like, I'm risking my life, investigating the Delphi murders and the Vinlanders. Like, this dude was not afraid of the Vinlanders. I'll tell you that right now. This dude wasn't afraid of anything. That's why he went out there and engaged this man. Because he's a hero. And he deals with a lot of bullshit and a lot of evil. And he put his life on the line. But it had nothing to do with the Delphi case. And yes, he was investigating it. But this isn't some movie, and he wasn't a character in the Delphi movie. It was just one of many things that he was trying to help with. He wasn't being silenced. You know what I mean? Like, we got to come back to reality. Just a little bit. Welcome in, Andy Kane. This case needs resolution. Family deserves to be unburdened by what has been. I wholeheartedly want to say rest in heaven to these two young girls. 100%. And all of this Odinism stuff, right? It could be something. Right now, it's just absolutely not. We need to keep the focus on bringing justice to Abby and Libby. And right now, the only nexus that exists, in my opinion, is with Richard Allen. So why ignore that? Ask yourself, why am I ignoring that? Why am I feeding into all of these other ideas that pull me away from that? Maybe it's your distrust in law enforcement. Maybe it's your perceived corrupt opinion about Carroll County being corrupt. Maybe you hate the system, you hate the Constitution in a whole, and you're just an anarchist. I don't know what it is. But you have to ask that question. Hey, Hiawatha. Without the geofencing, unfortunately, there's a lot we won't know about the phones. No, we know what the geofencing is. We know exactly who it belongs to. Cheyenne and the Subaru crew. That's whose phones that the defense is trying to bring attention to. They're trying to say, hey, look, these folks were over here at the same time that the crimes were going on. The same time that the murders were happening and the staging and moving and all of this was happening. Look, you have a group of people over there on the south end of the bridge. We know all about the geofencing. That's why it's not being admitted into the case. It's not being allowed by Gold because the defense is trying to point their finger at these innocent folks. Are they innocent? I don't know. But just the fact that they've already known who these people were. They know that they were on the bridge. They know that they were on the south end. These people all came forward, gave their statements, sometimes multiple statements, provided photo evidence. And if anything, it feeds more into the timeline. Like, hey, we didn't see no Richard Allen. But the reason the defense is focusing in on the geofencing is because it points to that group of people. And that's what they want. They want to create doubt, right? Welcome in, Beth. Good to see you. Rain Dancer says, I would recommend Nick McClellan and team, a real good expert on phone data. Pretty sure they got one, Rain Dancer. I don't think Richard Allen took his phone. I don't think he was on his personal phone. I think we're going to learn a whole lot about that if we make it to trial. Sherry, the judge has denied any info of that info admissible. Of course she did. She doesn't want any more distractions. Can you blame her? I don't think so, Miss Smalla. Not when it comes to pings. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I've watched people do experiments down there at the trails, tracking their own phones through tracking apps. And they'll be down there at the crime scene and it'll show them somewhere else, like over on 300 or maybe even on Ron Logan's property or something, over here by his house. I feel like it's going to attach itself to whichever tower is providing the best signal. We even heard Mike Patty say, well, it was pinging all over town. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, I agree with that, Rain Dancer. Not all Vinlanders are derelicts. There is more than are visible to public. Okay. I'm not quite sure the point you're trying to make, Sherry. Why are you even talking about the Vinlanders? Shouldn't you be connecting them to the actual crime scene? So you've already accepted the fact you're building your foundation on sand and you're just sinking. You've already accepted the fact that the crime was not only was it a ritual murder, but it was a Odinism ritual. And not only was it an Odinism ritual, but it was a ritual conducted by Vinlanders, probably Patrick Westphal, I'm assuming. So you have no proof of that. So you ignore all the good evidence and you've allowed yourself to be convinced by the speculation. And I'm okay with that, but it doesn't, I feel like you don't understand that it's pure speculation. That you're taking leaps and bounds to get to where you're at. Now, if you can prove that there was Vinlanders on the trail that day, it's much more interesting to me. Truffle says Keegan is a pathological liar, and I agree with that. Why lie about your father? The one person who's going to send money to your commissary, why lie about him? Yep, that's true, Anna. It's kind of where I was going with it. Truffle says, I would not trust anything that Keegan says. Well, it kind of goes back to when you're being interrogated by law enforcement. They can lie during an interrogation or an interview, right? Does that mean that they're lying about everything? No. You have to look at the way people lie. Most criminals, first, they lie flat out, and then they give 25% of their involvement, and then 50%, and then it's self-defense, right? Oh yeah, I killed that man, but I did it because I had to. He was going to kill me, so I killed him first. And then sure enough, they'll flat out admit it. So there's levels to it. Most criminals are liars, but eventually they come out with it. Why? Depends on their own motivation, their own contributing factors. Andy Kane says Tony Klein moved to Florida too. Weird. Well, I don't think it's weird. It's a good place to retire. I heard he had surgery on his foot and he's being accused of a crime that he says he didn't commit. Makes sense to me. Like, we're not here to accuse Tony Klein. We're just here to ask, why is Keegan Klein, somebody that's obviously connected with these in a weird way through Anthony Shots, why is he confessing to being there that day and throwing his dad under the bus? That's the question. Is he fleeing? I don't know, maybe. But I heard Florida is a great place to go. And he seems to be right at that age where he might be interested in retiring. Getting close anyway, you know. Was he like 55? It's pretty young, but maybe he's on disability now. So, I mean, we have to be honest about certain things. Sherry, and tell me this, why would a politician commit such a crime? Well, he was obviously radicalized, right? First thing people do before they become radical is they get involved in politics. Like, I want to make a change, so I got to, in order to make a change, I got to get involved. And now that they're involved and they failed at it, now there's only one thing left, right? And that's civil war. The dude was obviously sick. Even when you can see the interview, there was just something not quite right with him. But to say that he went and did what he did because he was trying to cover up what happened at the Delphi case, I mean, just say it out loud and kind of hear what you're saying when you say that. Hiawatha quoting Doug Carter, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove. Yep. And investigators will tell you that. They speculate just like we do, but they're not going to come and speculate out in the public. They're going to speculate with the information they have to try to get to those facts. But when it comes to making a public statement, they just can't do that. And that might be what's going on with Keegan Kline. Seems to be what happened with David Callenberger. Lieutenant Holman could not corroborate the statements that B. Phillips was making. I'm sure he believes him, but how is that going to play out in a court of law? You see how these defense attorneys are with Richard Allen. You have to have your shit right. Another quote from Doug Carter is, "We're only halfway there," right? A conviction is only the first step. Sherry, I do not doubt Richard Allen is the killer. I want to know what his motive is and the Rushville aspect of this. It's incomplete. No, it's not. I mean, it's incomplete, but that's not even on the page. The Rushville stuff. Say what says, "You are a good man to help find answers." I appreciate that. I don't know if I'd go that far. I'm just somebody who's interested, created their own platform because they didn't want to be silenced. But I appreciate you saying that. And I don't want you guys to be silenced either. Like I said, try to be fair. In my opinion, they knew about Richard Allen, maybe were keeping an eye on him, but didn't have enough to get a warrant for anything for him. Something gave them enough info and connection with the river searches. I agree. And even in the interrogation of Richard Allen, Holman says, "We know you're involved in this." Not once does he say, "We know you killed those girls." You know how we know? Because we found your bullet. He says, "No, we know you're involved." Whatever that means. But yeah, Sherry, you're right about it. It is incomplete, but I think the whole Rushville stuff is just a red herring. All right, you guys talk amongst yourself. I'm going to go grab me another water bottle. Alrighty, guys, I am back. Thanks for holding on for me. Yeah, that stuff is interesting. Sherry, by the way, I love that pic you're showing today. Yeah, it's a good pic. It's another version, but the comments seem to cover Abby's face, so I just kind of blow it up like that. Hey, Miss Dog Lover. Hey, Sleuth and all. Sorry for my lack of engagement. Not very well. Looking forward to trial. Praying for just for Abby and Libby. Also praying for a lead in the Missy Beavers case. Yeah, that's an interesting case. Maybe we will revisit that one. Thank you for your comment. Angela was sending to police. Sending what to police? Say what? Say what? Since some or all seem to be thrown out. Anna, my husband had a lot of nasal eye allergies. That's when the eye doctor taught us to swipe the eyelashes. It adds to relief. Okay. Yeah, unless he had a burner phone or something, you know. Agron crazy. This might seem like a silly question, but what do you think? Is that Nick McClelland? Knows. Is he trying to block third-party participants or just goal? What do you mean block? There's guidelines, you know, to what makes or constitutes a third-party suspect. They don't fit into that. So nobody's blocking it. And if Nick McClelland knows anything, he's not going to make it public. So if he has anything on Richard Allen's alibi, Richard Allen's phone, was he using his own phone? Were they able to track his phone? Was he using what they think is a burner phone? We're not going to hear about any of that until a trial. And the reason for that is because the defense isn't going to make anything public that's going to hurt their client, Richard Allen. They're there to sow the seed of doubt, not confirmation. So if he knows anything or he has any tricks up his sleeve, they're definitely hearing about it in the status hearings. And I believe they are negotiating right now. And everything that's happening is just it's a new boogeyman in the courtroom. The old boogeyman was the threat of third-party suspects. Well, that's gone. You know, they needed to bring that monster with them into the courtroom. They lost that monster. Now, the new boogeyman that they're trying to build up is the appeal process, right? We're going to go through this, and we're going to have to hit Indiana with another $1 million trial right after this. And it's your fault, Goal, because you're not allowing these third-party suspects in. But the truth is, this recent appeal, it's going to get thrown out quickly. I mean, I'm talking like within a week, it's going to be gone because there's no weight to it. And typically these types of appeals they're not granted. So that's going to be thrown out. But the truth of the matter is that, yeah, the appeal is still there. And for all we know, Nick McClelland is saying, okay, we're not going to give you a deal. We're going to go through this trial and we'll see you in part 2. We'll see you, during the appeal process. We're going to get our conviction, and then we already know that it'll probably be accepted. And then that's when we're going to hit you with all the other evidence, or that gives us time to further our case. But really, I doubt that. I'm hoping that my theory is correct, that they don't want that appeal and that they can give maybe a compromise, after talking with the victims' families. Like, what if we give Richard Allen 40 years with the possibility of parole in like 30, or 50 years possibility of parole in 30 if he waives his right to appeal? Would you guys be okay with that? just so we can put this to bed, close the book on this, so we can get past this. Not only because we're going to have trouble with the DNA, he's probably going to go down a list of, things that are going to give them problems, and because of those problems, what the sentencing might look like. Like, we're not going to be able to bring the death penalty. I think we're going to struggle getting him life without, actually having DNA. But I think we're going to get a strong conviction on the kidnapping and the kidnapping that led to the murder. Like, we're going to be able to make that stick. But with that kind of a charge, I don't know the history of Indiana or the statistics of what that might mean for Richard Allen. But I've seen some pretty messed up cases where people, they really don't get what they deserve. I mean, we were just covering the Arthur Shawcross case. You guys ever heard of him? Serial killer. Arthur Shawcross. Now, this was an older case, so I'm sure things have gotten a little bit better. From Rochester, New York. Well, he killed 2 kids, and he ended up just being charged with manslaughter, and they only sentenced him to 25 years because they weren't able to prove 100% that he was responsible for one. They knew it was him that killed this boy. But they knew that they were going to have trouble proving it in a court of law. So they gave him a plea bargain where he admits to the one. They charged him with manslaughter, gave him 25 years, and he only served 14 years. So yeah, to us, we want life in prison or we want the death penalty. And thankfully, Keegan Kline, they threw the book at him pretty good. But that just isn't always the case, unfortunately. So if they have an uphill battle, I think they'll talk with the families and, if we offer him this, because right now their worst enemy is the appeal. So how do they get rid of the appeal? Well, Richard Allen has to waive his right to appeal. And even then, the book's not closed. They have to do it properly, where that if he tries to still take the plea deal and still try to appeal, there's going to be another process to see if he's going to be able to do that or not. So they need to make sure they do it properly. But that's what I think is going to happen. They're going to give him some kind of a deal if he waives his right to appeal. So that's the monster they're creating now, is that threat. And that's their only bargaining chip right now. Yeah, I try to stay away from that. I don't know. I feel like the longer I can avoid taking any medication, the more my body will fight it off, and the following years end up being a lot better for it. Hey, Jari. You're not too late. I'm a former 2-term county coroner, lived in Indiana all my life. There are groups all over the state, many kinds. Yeah, here in Arizona too. We have Vinlanders here. A lot of they're responsible for a lot of violent crime that happened here. Not as of recently, but about 20 years ago, they were all over the news. Threatening judges and all kinds of shit. Stephanie says, you need to be able to connect third party to the scene to be able to bring it in. This has been explained by Scott Reich, a defense attorney. Yep. We did a whole live stream about that. You can't have speculation connecting your third-party suspects to a crime scene. Now, kind of like with Elvis Fields, if he said, I spit on the girls and I put horns on her head, if he said that to the cops, I think that'd be a little bit different. It would kind of be similar to what Keegan Kline has done, saying, yeah, I was there. I was there with my father, and my father came walking out of the woods from the crime scene and told me that we had fun. That's what he said. "18 minutes to get from the bridge to the place over the creek." What do you mean? Doesn't take long at all to get from the crime scene to the cemetery, and not very long to get from the Monon High Bridge to the crime scene. Go check out Randy Gravitt's old videos. He did that a few different times. He takes his sweet time as well. He's kind of talking, he pauses and shows you guys the landscape, and it still doesn't take very long. My county, we have 2 satanic cults within the county we all know of. Yeah, that you know of. It's the ones that we don't know of that worry me, really. What's up, Jibbo? Is that a picture? Is that Rick Snay? In a police uniform? Or is that you? That looks like Rick Snay. Also, if Richard Allen confessed and KK and TK are involved, wouldn't TK be brought in for questioning or possibly arrested? Yeah, and I don't know if Richard Allen's confessed all the way. He told his wife, like, hey, if it gets too tough, if this gets rough on you, let me know. I'll tell them what they want to know. For all we know, that's what they want to know. What's up, Tish? Yeah, it sounds more like the term Odinism, I think, is more attached to prison gangs. What's up, Jarmy? Maybe half the town is involved. I seriously doubt that, right? It's like these people who say, oh, Mike Patty and Kelsey German are involved in this. It's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. It's like you have people saying that they care about what happened to Abby and Libby, and then they call her sister a pathological liar. Like I'm supposed to believe you that you care about Abby and Libby? Their sister was only 16 years old when this happened. And you're talking that way about her without any real proof? Should be ashamed of yourself. That's just my opinion. Yep, for sure, Molly. It's a tough job. You got some that get involved in it for all the wrong reasons, and then you have some that get involved for all the right reasons. I'm going to say the bad apples are 1 out of 10, maybe more when it comes to cops or any position of power, really. You know, politicians included. Is this a total rumor that Abby's blood was not found at the scene? I still can't separate all the bullshit from facts. Well, it's all been made public about like the blood puddles where they were found and things like that. Yeah, she was covered in blood. Now, if you listen to the Frank's memo, just remember everything that we could get our hands on, anything that that was tangible, listed in the Frank's memo, it was complete fabrication. So it makes you wonder about the rest, right? Aerospace, a video description would be nice. The video description is open discussion. That's what we're having right now. Hello.
She gonna cry in the car.
Yep, 100%. I can tell. Abby was soaked underneath, indicating she passed where attacked, and Libby about 8 feet. Yeah, there was like pools of blood, like not too far away from the girls. And it's kind of sick. The defense wants you to believe that they were strung up by a rope and drained of their blood. What's up, Brett? Yeah, I mean, confessions are really iffy, though, guys. You can have somebody who's guilty, that's under psychosis, and they're confessing, even though they don't want to confess. They're trying to create like a false confession. You have people who are actually mentally ill, falling under the umbrella of insanity, and might even be still continue malingering, even though the judge believes them that they were insane at the time of the crime. Like, man, confessions are just really iffy. Richard Allen needs to sit down in front of a camera, talk to the investigators, confess directly to them, and then write it down in a statement. To me, that's a confession. Bye-bye. It looks like you're just wasting your time in my chat. Here, let me play something for you.
You can read this.
How about that? Why don't you go cry to mommy now? Sleuth blocked me from his chat. Can see you snakes coming a mile away. Let it out, Cindy. Let it out. You know I got your back either way. Yep, all opinions are welcome. Just be ready for any pushback. He didn't care, Beth. Just a troll. Thanks for the email. Yeah, Anna, that's true. And that's all we're trying to do is make some kind of sense of it. We don't want the wool to be pulled over our eyes. Sherry says, I think it is Allen. It's the motive, which does not have to be proved by the prosecution. Well, sometimes there's really not a motive. We know that the biggest stressors hit him right around the times we had the Flora fires and the Delphi murders. And a lot of people don't realize that Richard Allen's birthday is in September. So his daughter moves out of the house in September, and his brother dies in September. His brother-in-law dies in September. Not the best birthday month. And also, the death of his brother pulled him into Peru. So if he's old friends with the Kleins for whatever reason, that pulls him back over there. Go watch The Catalyst. It'll explain it all. Hey, Yankee Ghost, thank you so much for sponsoring today's live stream. Very generous of you. I appreciate you. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if they were able to come forward and somehow match the DNA and the fingerprint that was found at the crime scene to somebody that was completely unrelated to Richard Allen, that's a big deal. You would have to just say right then and there, like, hey, something's up here. Like, you might have to let Richard Allen go. But everything that they have points to Richard Allen. The fact that we really didn't know who he was, there's a couple people that may have mentioned him here and there, and those numbers are very few and far between. But I mean, we knew everybody as a collect. And when I say we, I mean us as the online sleuthing community. Everybody who was interested in the case, we knew everything that was going on. And when we all got together and talked about it, we could create a list. And Richard Allen wasn't on that list. You got to ask yourself why. If he's an innocent man, he wouldn't care about any of that. Even people like DP, remember? They dragged him through the mud. They're still dragging him through the mud. Poor Ron Logan dragged him through the mud too. So they didn't even have the chance to drag Richard Allen through the mud. That was all by design. The same with his social media footprint vanishing. The same with him mysteriously vanishing from his wife's Facebook. Him turning away from the cameras at JC's anytime it pointed at him. There's a reason we didn't know about Richard Allen. Because he was hiding right in front of you. Caricature, KK is a big fat liar. Yeah, it's a problem with liars. We don't know when they're telling the truth or when they're lying. Let's go to Wife Lola. Can we all take a moment to reflect back to R&M's reaction last night? I didn't see it. I'm really not concerned with other YouTube channels, Wife Lola. What they do is of no concern to me. Right now, the most important thing we can do is take personal responsibility. Starts at home, right? As long as we all do what we need to be doing, everything will turn out just fine. Cindy says, in my opinion, Tony was into the CSAM having conversation with girls. Yeah, and that can be true. And the fact that if it is true and they were unable to prove it, That means we're dealing with more of a cunning person than we expected. We just can't underestimate these folks, you know. They're chameleons. They're going to present to you, they're going to wear the mask that they want you to see. But those who are closest to them will be able to tell you who these folks really are. If you want to know if Tony Klein is a cunning or smart and intelligent person, just ask any of his close friends. To us, we're like, oh, you know, he's just some bumbling idiot, or, you know, whatever you want to say. He's just some creepy guy. You know, he's Keegan Klein's father, so he's got to be a piece of shit too. We don't know that. The only way you're going to really know the truth about somebody like him is by talking to their very, very close friends. I'm not talking about YouTubers who have befriended him. You know, he's got a mask for those folks too. I'm talking about the people that grew up with him, the people that went fishing with him, the people who were there for him when he needed them, or vice versa. You know, the people that really know him. They're going to tell you whether or not he's an idiot or highly intelligent. Now, if they tell you that he's highly intelligent, that's going to make me concerned, and that'll be cause for concern, because that means that he knows how to hide his footprint. Hey, Patrick Westfall's in the building. Not sure what all this horseshit is about, Rushville Vinlanders is about, but there wasn't then and never was a Rushville group. One dude who was thrown out on bad terms for being a con artist. Welcome in. Also known as the Big Bad Wolf. Only 2 patch holders in the state of Indiana. No more, no less. What about Arizona? I remember there was a lot of news about Vinlanders here in Arizona. They were wrapped up in a lot of RICO cases and shit like that. I want to say about 20 years ago. Molly says maybe KK lied about TK because TK wasn't helping him, or maybe he told some of the truth. Yeah, that's what these criminals do. You know, I didn't do anything. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I was around, but I didn't do anything. I was in the area. Oh, well, yeah, I did shoot that man, but it was self-defense. Okay, you know, it was a drug deal gone wrong. Okay, you got me. You know, eventually the truth comes out. Anna says KK said an interview that police offered to make his charges go away if he could solve the Delphi case. A skilled liar took the bait and cost Indiana a lot of money. Yeah, and you could be right. Not to mention they took him out of confinement. We did a whole live stream on malingering, and one of the number one motivators was so that they can get placed somewhere other than where they're at that point in time, right? They get to see people of the opposite sex, you know, nurses and doctors. And for all we know, they took Keegan Klein to get some fast food. Apparently, they took him to Delphi. So, yeah, that's plenty of motivation for somebody like Keegan Klein. I agree with that, Anna. Yeah, and we don't know, right, Cindy, until we do. We don't know until we do. Early on, Tobe was saying that the public was safe and to watch what kids were doing on the internet. Early confusion. I think what he was saying is that they kind of had an understanding of what happened, like it was an isolated incident. But I agree. And even Steve Mullen kind of backtracked on that. The very next day, they asked him the same question, and he said that the people of Delphi can make up their own minds, you know, about how concerned they should be. That there is a killer on the loose. So yeah, Tobe, and just another rookie move, in my opinion. Not that he's a rookie cop, but when it comes to stuff like that and having the media in front of you, you know, a rookie in that aspect. Thanks, Sylvia. Trying to catch up on this chat. Giving details to your mother and wife pretty much convinced me of Richard Allen's guilt. I still want those transcripts. I don't deserve them, but no, I'm just interested. Context, right? Dang, am I that far behind? Make sure you guys can still hear me. Anna says, I wonder if Richard Allen was on the radar in 2019. The Carter speech was aimed at him. If investigators tracked locals afterward, did they note that Richard Allen was hospitalized in 2019? Small town people talk. I think it's possible. And I always go back, like I said, to the David Callenberger case. You had a witness come forward saying, I helped put my friend's body in the back of a trunk. These are all the people that were involved. Yet there's no arrests in that case whatsoever. Another case headed up by Lieutenant Holman. So to sit here and say that that never happens, that they don't ever know who's responsible for a crime, and they don't really make the public aware of it, it does happen. Not only does it happen, it happens in Indiana, and it happens with the same group of investigators. So I think it's possible. And it also would explain the bullshit that's going on with Dan Doolin, right? Like, we always ask, like, how could this be possible? So hopefully that's part of the whole Doug Carter speech where he says, one day I'll be able to tell you. And I hope you Indianians hold him to it. Good to see you, Joey. CJK. Rowing now, 61 confessions. Waltzed in the chat and thought you were addressing me because of my chat name. I was like, how was she talking to me before I got in here? I agree, CJK. I mean, the biggest question is what's his alibi? You got people who are trying to, I call them cheerleaders for Richard Allen. They're asking about what was Patrick Westfall's alibi? What was Brad Holder's alibi? But not once have they asked what was Richard Allen's alibi. Why? Why are you sticking up for this guy that is most likely responsible for murdering these two girls? Why are you doing that? Why not ask about that? Why not go do a live stream on Richard Allen's alibi? Just one time. I mean, we've entertained the Odinism stuff in multiple live streams. We've had guests on. We've had people who were listed, like Patrick Westfall. He was right here. He was a lamb to the slaughter. But they can't even ask about Richard Allen's alibi. It's time to start asking why. Yeah, stay centered. Stay focused. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, Cheryl. Just gotta be honest. I just ask that you're honest with yourself. That's it. And you don't even have to do that. but that's the kind of shit I'll say. Yeah, it's time to remember, Anna. Time to remember. Yeah, it comes and goes, Joey. Comes and goes. There's a lot going on with this case. I think we're coming to the conclusion here pretty soon. Yeah, we've covered that case quite a bit, Molly. We can revisit it. That's a good idea. It's another strange case. That weird video of the suspect walking around in that police riot gear. Fucking weird. Yeah, where's Perry Mason when you need him? That's a good question. Cheryl's asking, have they given Keegan immunity? I don't know. Think we'll find out soon enough. But honestly, I think it's safer to lean towards the fact that he's a lying piece of shit. But it's just like, what the fact that they took him to Delphi? Like, man, that's so strange to me. So not only did they bring him to Grissom Air Force Base, but they took him to Delphi, back to the crime scene, so he can kind of quarterback, help them explain what the hell happened. So he didn't just make a statement. He took him down there. It's hard, man. It's just so hard to overlook all of that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Molly. Just to add to the pressure. That's really the only card they have left to play, right? Like, no matter what you do, we're just going to appeal. Translation, give us a deal and we'll waive our appeal. Sounds like Richard Allen's ready to close the book on this shit as well. What's up, Solar Chef Steph? Sorry if I'm falling behind on the chat. I'll try to catch up. Yeah, Nick McClellan responded recently to the recent appeal. He says that, they're just doing their best to avoid a circus. I can appreciate that. I don't know what that link is. Say what? And it's okay. You can be disappointed in me. But if you send me a link and you don't tell me what it is, I most likely won't click on it. So if you want to send me another email with a little bit of context, that would be helpful. Family new if you don't listen to me. What? Now you're just sounding weird. Yeah, it went away. Usually if I go outside, like I took the dogs for a walk, and then when I came back inside, my eyes were itchy. I was sneezing a little bit and had a little bit of a headache. But then it subsides after a while. Right, caricature. Well, apparently she emailed it to me. I did get an email, but it's just a link in the email. Hey, what's up, Sees Through? How you doing? Dwight West, welcome in. Good. I hope you had a great day. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Why you fucking with Snay? Joey Lowe, the last presser. What about it? What up, Ruckus? Bring the ruckus. Zuzu, welcome in. Joey says Doug Carter also was asked by a new lady where the bodies were found, and he says on the edge of the creek, not 50 feet back, and staged. Well, 50 feet pretty much is the edge of the creek. You know what? Say what? I just got your email, and it's just funny when people say this, and I just don't trust it. People always say this. You know, they always say, "Oh, I listen to you all the time. I just don't comment." You know how many times people say that to me right before I block them? Pretty often. Hey, Sharon Wright. What's up with the supposed video of Kathy Allen? What video is that? There's a supposed video? Yeah, I don't think anybody shared that with me. Yeah, Beth, she sent it to me. If you want, you can go ahead and tell everybody what you want them to go watch. Yeah, tell them where to find it. Yeah, you can say whatever you want in the chat. Yeah, the edge of the creek. Well, I mean, technically they were found on the edge of the creek. But in your mind, you want it to be like with the foot in the water or something like that. The crime scene is on the edge of the creek. play readers only... plate. I think you meant plate. Plate readers only identify a vehicle, not the occupants. Gotcha. What video is that, Joey? Might help if you guys tell me what you're talking about. Olivia too. Yeah, this was kind of an impromptu. I felt bad about not spending too much time in the chat last night, and I really wasn't done discussing the matter, so it's kind of what today is all about. Man, the trolls are out for real today. Hey, Sparky. Good to see you. Welcome in. This is pretty much our 10-minute warning, so I think I might actually catch up on the chat. Yeah, that's what it is, Cindy. It's just a pop-up live. Yeah, and I mean, technically the crime scene is on the edge of the creek. Especially when you consider that the clothing was found in the water, you know, so that's probably tied into the crime scene. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mar R. I appreciate you. ×2. And you too, Yankee. Thank you, guys. Oh, yeah. I don't engage with these fools. I do not engage. It's probably a family basher anyway. I usually only get trolls when I stick up for Kelsey German because it makes people feel guilty because they know what they're doing. You know, when they badmouth Kelsey and I call them out on it, it's their guilt, right? That's what triggers them. So I kind of think it's funny.
But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
How about that? Let's go to a newcomer. Bolts and Stars, Ball Reviews. In his confessions, has he mentioned having any help? If he were to give an official confession, I'd hope that he names names if he had any, even if it's just to benefit him. I agree. To me, that's a confession. Because I thought that the defense, they made a good point. Like, how many times did he say he was innocent? Like, you can't ignore those and only bring in the times where he says that he was guilty. So to me, a real confession is him sitting down saying, hey, I would like to officially make a statement. Sits down with investigators. He's not pressured. He's not coerced. He doesn't spend 24 hours in the interrogation room. He simply comes in there and tells them what they want to know. Like, here, this is what happened. These are the folks that were involved. This was the role that I played. says it on videotape, and then writes it down in a statement. Boom. That's it. The beginning of the end. Joey says, do any of you wonder why the killer took the girls across the creek? I would either say probably for seclusion, and if there's other involved, to bring the victims to the other perpetrators. Did I miss Don Spain? Where you at? Did I miss you? What's up, Don? Be respectful. We don't mind any opinions other than family bashing. For real. Yep. No trigger trolling and no family bashing. It's pretty simple. As long as you have the ability to agree to disagree. Copacetic. Hey, Danielle. What's up? What's up, Brightfield? Thanks for dropping a comment. BD Hubbard, welcome in. I'm doing well, thank you. I hope you're doing great. Yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, in my opinion, Anna, the only way the creek crossing was unplanned is if the girls ran, and I don't think they did. I think it was all part of the plan. And if it was part of the plan, to me, that tells me others might have been involved. Welcome in, Big Fish. Says, isn't Messer a 1%er now? That was a question for Patrick Westfall. From my understanding, Big Fish, during the interview, he said that no, he got booted out. I think the quote may have been low-life con artist. Putting hairs and bugs in burritos and shit like that to get free food. Don says Vinlanders in Arizona are a motorcycle club. No affiliation with the Indiana Goobers. Let's see. Patrick Westfall says the Arizona guys were asshole animals. Bad dudes. Yeah, I remember, man. They were all over the news. They were like, they tried to kill like a judge or something. They all ended up getting arrested. And I think a lot of people came forward who were in the group. And what's the word? Well, they definitely weren't in support of them at all. After the horse shit they pulled, they was all ran out of the club really fast. That was years before my time, though. They need drug. I think that's a miss. They need to be behind bars. Oh, they need to be drugged behind a car. Oh, I guess it wasn't a typo. Yeah. People don't know, but Arizona's a really rough place. Now we have a lot of gangs, and we have our own problems. That's why when I hear about problems in Indiana, it's really I'm just like, oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. I mean, we literally have people in the Mexican mafia that drive up and down our highways all day long, and they just to support the drug culture here. And that's just something that's just popping into my head right now. Yeah, I guess it's considered organized crime. Thanks again, Mar. Hey, Dark Arts by Adrian. I appreciate that. Which live was the dark web? Let me pull that. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. That was a good one. I actually did a two-part. It was a two-part series. I did them back to back. Let me see if I can find them for you. Okay, here, let me put this one in here. So I think the first one was Delphi murders, or the second one was Delphi murders, Bitcoin, and the dark web. I'll drop that now. And I think there's one more. Oh, here it is. Yeah, the dark web. Yeah, those are two really good live streams. So I just posted those for you. Thanks for the super chat, Adrian. Patrick says Arizona chapter wasn't an MC. All states are 3-piece patch groups. Owning a motorcycle doesn't make you an MC. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these guys were just straight up Vinlanders. Yeah, I'm way behind. I'm trying to catch up. Hey, what's up, Farmer? Yeah, that is his alibi, right? None of the rabbit holes made sense, could not be proven. Richard Allen's BG, and if others are involved, there is no proof. He led them there. Death either way. Yep, and I think that explains the defense and the direction that the prosecution is going. I agree, Rain Dancer. 100%. No more time for delays. Mar, I have zero reasons to be back in that shithole county. As much as I'd like to attend the trial, I think it would be a distraction away from the case and the girls getting justice. I would agree. I would agree with that. Sleuth Intuition was the day they took KK out to the crime scene also when the river search started. I believe so. I don't know if they took him out. Here, let me pull that paperwork up. Okay, I have it up. Let me just share my screen with you guys. I'm all over the place right now. So they're basically saying what you need to know is what you're signing is confidential. Notice of exclusion of confidential information from public access. So whatever they're doing, they want to keep it hidden. Those are the first two documents. They're basically saying if you don't follow this motion, this information would severely hinder the efforts of law enforcement officers in the course of an investigation. I affirm under the penalties of perjury. So it's like I want you to understand, keep this shit quiet, right? Hereby order sealed until further order by the court. Temporarily place the defendant in the above caption cause into the secure custody of Indiana State Police, and that upon the conclusion of said temporary custody, that the defendant be returned to the custody of Miami County Jail. 19th day of August, the same day of the Wabash River search. So I'm assuming, but I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming this is the day they took him to Grissom and then took him to Delphi. That's the day they started the Wabash River search, the 19th. So I'm assuming Keegan Klein said, we threw in a phone and a knife, and then I picked up my dad from the cemetery. So then they begin the Wabash River search, and then they also take him over to Delphi to show him exactly what he was referring to. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, they both are. It's more awareness about how predators are using the dark web and how possibly Richard Allen was using the dark web. It's just, both of those are really good streams right there. This one and this one. It's really two parts. That's true. Hey, badass, what's up? Yeah, if he was a lone wolf, that's definitely what happened. Something along those lines. Patrick says the VSC wore 3-piece patches around the entire country, Don, for many years, and still do, in front of every MC out there, and even in their clubhouses. You're talking out of your ass, man. Okay, and are you trying to explain why they might have crossed that creek? Like he wants to get away from whoever's coming to pick them up? I could see that, if that's what you mean. All right, guys. I think this is going to do it. We're all caught up on the chat. I don't think crossing that creek would be risky at all. It's not that deep. And risk versus reward, for the killer is overwhelming. The reward is that you're completely isolated over there. The risk is what? That somebody sees you from the bridge? Well, you just came from the bridge. Nobody's there. That's why you got to do it quickly. And it's almost like once you cross that creek successfully, that's it. You have no more worries. Other than what you were already worried about is, the girls running away or screaming or something like that. But that's how I look at everything, risk versus reward. And then looking through the eyes of that killer, the reward outweighs any of that risk. Especially if you've already committed the kidnapping from the bridge. You're already in trouble. It's almost like your only option at that point. Or there could have been somebody waiting on the side of the cemetery, and it was your task to bring them across the creek over there to you. Good to see you, badass. He arrived about 3:14. So yeah, you think they would have already been across the creek. So that's a good point. Possibly. I mean, I don't know. But I get what you're saying. Thank you, Molly. All right. Appreciate everybody who participated in the chat. Thanks again for leaving comments. And if you are part of the replay crew, drop a comment. Let me know what you think about what was discussed today. If you guys need to get a hold of me, hit up the email address, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Creeks in winter and cold climates are slippery, even possible for ice to be under the water on the rocks. Trust me, you're not thinking about that right at that moment in time. You know what I mean? It's not a deterrent. Mar R says Patrick Westfall considered punching Brad for all the bullshit he's put you through. I've thought about it. All right, guys. That is going to do it. So I appreciate everybody. And I'll see you guys on channel 2 a little bit later. For those of you that know, you know. Peace out.